So we're going to go ahead and get started. And Dawn, I will run the PowerPoint for you.
Okay.
And if you're ready, I'll just go ahead and move to the first slide.
Sure. Well, I just wanted to talk a little bit about my experience using an online system, specifically e-CIMPACT, and the real benefits that we've seen over the past 4 years in dealing with this system. We began using e-CIMPACT back in February of 2006, and the reason that we decided to move to that is because we, well, first of all, we felt that technology was moving forward and that we needed to move forward with it. A lot of the foundations and grantors in our city were moving to online systems, and we wanted to keep up with everybody else. And we also wanted to find something that would meet our particular needs. We know that there are a lot of funding sources out there, and we're a very unique funding source, and we wanted to make sure that we had a system that was malleable to what we were interested in doing. And so we interviewed e-CIMPACT and really found that they were the most flexible with the most support. So we are able to manage our SECC CFC eligibility process in e-CIMPACT. We're also able to manage our annual investment process and also our indicator results, which we actually call it our outcomes management. But we utilize our program logic models for community impact in our 3 focus areas, and right now we've got approximately 400 agencies, programs, and volunteers that use the system. Here's my own quote. So I'll just read it because this is exactly what I said. And this is the truth. I can't even estimate how many staff and agency hours have been saved by transferring to this e-CIMPACT online system. There's always a learning curve in the first year, but by the second year it was well worth the investment, and it's over and above exceeded our expectations in terms of money saving. It's saved much staff time, and in this past year with the economy, that has been crucial for us. We fortunately didn't have to lay off any employees, and I think we were really thankful that we were able to move our volunteers and some of our other key players into e-CIMPACT to be able to save some of our administrative time. So in terms of SECC-CFC, which is the, I can't even tell you what the acronym stands for because we use the acronym all the time. But the old way that we used to do it is we had several administrative people that would get these large packets of manila envelopes or mailed envelopes from the agencies that had all of the SECC-CFC documentation in it. There were 13 documents, all mailed out, sorted by administrative people for 80 different agencies. There was tons and tons of paper that all had to get checked in and all had to get filed and put into a spreadsheet so that we could make sure everybody was in compliance. The e-CIMPACT way, agencies are able to upload their documents like their 501c3 status. And we only had 2 agencies that were unable to scan certain documents in, and they just came to United Way and used our scanner to scan them in. We were sort of concerned that we might have more issues with that, but it is amazing the amount of organizations, even the smaller ones, that have the ability to scan documents. Our admin person didn't have to sort through all the papers. They were able to go online, click into the particular agency, and check in the documentation right there. The other thing is that our agencies could not submit the packets until all the required documents were uploaded. And although, granted, I think we had one agency that uploaded the wrong documentation under a particular section, But other than that, they can't miss anything. We used to get a lot of packets back that would have missing information because there's a lot of information that they have to send for SEC, CFC. And so they would take that, they'd put everything together in a folder, send it to us, and always somebody would be missing something. So administration people didn't have to spend a lot of time trying to track down missing documentation. Many of the agencies already had electronic copies of documents, so instead of having to go to the copier, make copies for us, put them in an envelope, waste postage, they could simply just go onto their hard drives and upload the documentation, which saves a lot of trees, but it saves a lot of time for our agencies as well. Our year-end reporting, we have a different system than a lot of United Ways. Our agencies do not reapply for funding every year, but they do write a year-end report at the end of our allocation cycle.
Everybody would electronically review them.
I'm sorry?
It's not going to happen.
I'm sorry, did we have a question there? Or somebody may need to mute themselves if you're having an outside conversation. I'm sorry, Dawn. Please.
That's okay. That's okay. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing somebody's question. So the old way of doing our reporting was that agencies would submit a Word document. And oftentimes we would give them a set of expectations. Here's how many characters you can use. Here's how many words you can use. And oftentimes they didn't adhere to that. So sometimes we'd get documentation and their outcomes analysis would be 7 pages long. They'd analyze everything that they possibly did in their organization. And it was oftentimes difficult to enforce the submission deadlines. So now the e-CIMPACT way for us is that agencies can submit their year-end reports right online. So the character counts are limited, and that helps for the agencies to be concise when they're reporting to us. That way, staff and volunteers are not spending hours and hours and hours and hours and hours on reading reports that were previously up to 40 pages long. Staff are also able to go into e-CIMPACT in real time and help the agencies, which is a real time saver for both the agency and United Way staff. Because previously someone would call, they'd say, I don't understand this particular section. We'd ask them to read what they had written so far. Then we tried to help them figure out what they were supposed to say. And so it was very time consuming. Now we can go in, take a look at what it is that they're looking at, and help them to figure out the best way to move forward. Agency staff also felt that the reports were much more user-friendly and much easier to fill out than they were before. For our RFP open process, we have a couple of initiatives where we have a pot of money and agencies are able to come to e-CIMPACT to fill out a form requesting funding. The old way, again, was emailing documentation out to as many agencies as we could think of, because you don't have to be a partner agency to apply for initiative money. And staff and volunteers would review this paper documentation. It was very cumbersome, and it took a lot of staff and volunteer time. The e-CIMPACT way is that agencies now, again, submit their applications online. We have an eligibility form, which they fill out previous to